Hello, Om Shanti, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, good morning, brother. Happy New Year and Happy New Year to everybody listening.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, Lynette Ben, good morning, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Leben, nice to see you, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year, Juliet Ben, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, everyone. Happy New Year.
And Kavita Ben, Vikash Bhai, great to have you here, Om Shanti. Happy New Year, great to see you again.
Om Shanti, Happy New Year, everyone.
Om Shanti Bhai and all. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Benjamin will be especially pleased to see you both. She was remembering you a lot over Christmas. Great to see you.
We
So,
felt the remembrances. We
yeah,
did.
Yeah. Well, these meetings are richer for your presence. Thank you. So a very warm welcome to you all. For those of you who haven't joined the BK Chit Chat before, you're just tuning into the YouTube for the first time. My name is Shailen and I'm a student of the London Centre. In a little while, my mother, Ranjit Ben, will also join us. And we are all students here from different centres, and we gather together really to discuss some knowledge. And in these sessions, any question is welcome. It's not, you don't have to feel you have a stupid question. All questions are welcome. And so if there are any questions which you feel you haven't been able to ask anyone else, or you felt embarrassed to ask in your big classes or anything like that, we welcome them. If there are any understandings that need some, maybe you've been explained several times, but you feel you want to hear it again and you need to just clarify on us, you're welcome here. If there are some things which feel incongruent to you, don't worry and ask here. And we also welcome people sharing their experimentations, their experiences as well. So that's what these sessions are for. Great to have you all here. And then in this month of January, I think it just has an added specialness. You can feel the whole Brahmin family having a new focus in this month. You can sense it, I think, in the atmosphere. So I know that you've all been practicing and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and feelings. So today Ranjin Ben has selected a morally which is based on the Karamatite stage, based on the Avyak stage, because we're all in those types of thoughts, aren't we, at the moment? We're all thinking about Brahma Baba, we're all thinking about where we got to get to. And Baba's been so clear to us in these daily moralities. This is where you got to go. In the Bhog messages as well, just very, very clear about solitude, silence, concentration. We're getting those messages really clearly. So we'll move on to those topics as we hear the morally and after the morally. But to start off with, I'd like to hand over to those of you that are here. If any of you would like to share anything or ask anything, please feel welcome to do so. Great. Happy New Year, Jagitha Ben. Great to see you.
Om Shanti. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah. Ranjan Ben will be so happy to see you when she comes as well.
We too.
So yes, over to any of you.
Can I start, brother? And it's with a topic that doesn't really link well to what you introduced. So hopefully the others will bear with me. But it's a topic I've always wanted to raise. I've never discussed it. I think once with Patricia Ben, German. And that is the topic of race and color. And I don't think, I'm not familiar with it ever being brought up in the Murlis. And I, of course, because Baba deals with souls and not the corporeal, but I'm just curious to know, the thought was, why the different races? I know it's partly to do with geography, but spiritually, why? And yes, and why is it never mentioned?
Yeah, okay. So last time we discussed gender, didn't we? Was that in our last
Yeah.
time? Yeah, so these are interesting. How do we reconcile topics which are so important in our human work with the topics that Baba takes up in the morally, and how do these fit together? So certainly. Would anyone like to begin sharing their thoughts on that while I gather my thoughts?
Shanti. But this is my feeling about the whole thing. We're all Baba's children, and we all came in these bodies based on our past karmic accounts, I believe. But Baba doesn't see colors. He doesn't see race. He doesn't see religion. He sees his souls. He sees his children, whom he loves. So, in his way, in his eyes, I don't think he sees race or color or creed or anything like that. It's all, I think it's all based on what man or us in our human bodies believe what is inferior and superior in our limited way. And that's my take on it. But I believe that God doesn't see color, he doesn't see race, he sees beauty in souls or souls who need to be uplifted. He loves everybody the same way. And that's my take on it.
Shanti. Thank you. I think the question is not just about confluence age. I think it's just general, the development of races. Is that right, Juliet? And just
Yes.
like how,
Yes.
yes.
It's really that why those, how they came about. And I absolutely agree with what Lynette Ben just said, of course, that's the basis of Baba's teaching. But it's just curious that it's not ever been addressed like, other things that are, it is man-made in terms of superiority and all that. And that really wasn't it. It was just about the different races, the different colors.
Why is there diversity?
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to share their thoughts? Okay, so I'll begin sharing some thoughts, and you're all welcome to come in, and it might trigger your thinking further. Then I usually leave you all with more questions and answers, I think, anyway. So my interpretation from the Morales is that we should look at all of the ages as like separate worlds. And we've had that narrative this week as well again. The Iron Age is like a different world. Things work very, very differently in terms of souls, bodies, society, nature. So one of the things that I'd like to re-emphasize is that I personally am very cautious about assumptions, because it's natural for us to be biased. And he talks about how in the Hindu temples, the deities are shown using all the vices. And he says that this is because the sculptors, the artists themselves are in the Iron Age. And in Hinduism, the vices are present in all the ages. They're present in even where they show heaven up above, they show the vices there. So I'm always a bit cautious. When we spoke about gender, again, I think for me, I'm going to be conditioned by my understanding of gender now when I look at that topic. And I wonder whether it's a completely different thing in the different ages. And even physically, some things could be very different. So I think similarly with race, that first of all, we've got to understand that the bodies in the Golden Age are made, they're pure deity bodies. So I think we will be looking at a completely different set of genetics there. We know that it's a body that doesn't fall ill. It's a body that doesn't have untimely death. And there's a little bit of a complicated phrase. It's complicated for the Hindi speakers as well, that comes up from time to time in the Murali, and I'll take it up in the mornings when it does come up. He says the body there becomes Kaya Kalpatru, which, it's a very unusual word. And in the English, it's been translated like the Kalpa tree. Your body becomes like the Kalpa tree, which I suppose literally is the translation, but it means more like the body doesn't degenerate. We don't have old age like we do now. In the Iron Age, our body, really from the age of 30, begins to degenerate. So it's not very long, is it? It's probably like 16 to 30 years old is the peak of this physical body now. And then I think we lose 1% muscle every year from the age of 30. So we have got very different bodies in the Golden Age. We're not degenerating in the same way. And so I think that pure virgin birth means that we should see the Golden Age and the Silver Age, let's say the Golden Age first, as a deity race. So I think that's the first thing to say. I think we would say that is a race because it's a common genetic pool. And Baba does emphasize this concept of oneness. He says there's one kingdom, one language, one religion. And what you find is that there isn't diversity. As there's diversity of genetics, we have different features and elements, right, in our bodies. So like even ailments, like I'm thinking of, say, sickle cell, that's much more prevalent in African American bodies, isn't it? It's like there's certain diseases which are linked with certain races. Mm. And that could be historical behaviors which have created those genetics, or it could just be inherent. So what we know is in the Golden Age, there isn't diversity like that. So I think we can look at the deities as a race. I think another thing which Baba raises, and again, these are quite complex things in the Indian political or social mindset. He talks about the deities being the Aryan in some of the Muralis, the Aryan. Now, I studied Nazi Germany for 2 years at school. And so when you first hear these things, it's quite uncomfortable from a European perspective, because some of you may know that this was Hitler's grand vision. And if you think about colonialism generally, it's actually been based on this concept of Aryanism, that white supremacy. So the Aryans are white-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde hair. And I mean, that you think of Scandinavia, don't you? You think of Swedish people. That's the ideal for that mindset. So the theory is that all peoples come from that region. And the term that it's used for people who look like me and people who are European is Caucasian. This is why they call it. So the Caucasus Mountains exist between Europe and Asia. And so there's this theory of the peoples coming into India from the north. They're known as the Aryans. And then if you look at Indians who are from the southern, so halfway down south side, they look physically different to the Indians from the north. They tend to be darker skinned as well. And so then we got to connect it in with geography. Because when you look at the map of the world, I'm sure you've all seen this. I used to love this as a child, where you see the countries, the continents as jigsaw pieces, and you can go to like museums and things. And back in my day, now you've got the internet, you can look at home. But I remember going to museums as a child, and they showed you displays of how all the countries were once connected as a Pangaea. They called it Pangaea. And then over time, the different countries, the continents separated, but they all still pretty much fit together. They haven't lost their shape that much at all. And actually, the southern part of India fits into the eastern part of Africa. And so what scientists will tell us is the southern Indians are from the Dravidian race. The Sri Lankans, the southern Indians, which is the genetic makeup of the Eastern Africans as well. So what you've got in India is a very, it's like a very sensitive political issue, where you've got first of all, the Persians who ruled India, the Mughals, for 800 years. They had this narrative: we are the Aryans coming from the north to civilize you. And so people with darker skin, so even now in India, they use this term. Baba uses it in the Murali as well, where he talks about Krishna being ugly and beautiful. And they will use this term for beautiful as Gauri, which literally means light-skinned. So the word for beautiful is light-skinned. So there's a very deep cultural racism towards darker skinned people. And I would say that's very deep within the Indian communities here in the UK as well. So they carry this with them, that they will look down on that. And it comes from this, centuries of this type of belief system within India, which is so diverse, as we all know. And Baba then says, well, actually, the deities are the Aryans. So I think by saying that, he is confirming that the deities are a race. And so whether you've got these mythological concepts of, like, he said this yesterday, didn't he? It's not that deities will fall from the sky or something like that. It's not, you can have those types of religious stories, can't you? The deities descend up the sky. Or whether you say, well, they came from the north, because we've seen the world as flat, haven't we, for centuries? So the north is the sky, isn't it? It's up above. So Shiva Shankar is shown in the Himalayas, so it's this whole the gods are in the Himalayas, they're in the north. That's where the sky is, that's where heaven meets, that's sort of like subtle region-y. So these fair-skinned people have come from the north. You can just see the narrative, and this was the narrative for colonialism, wasn't it? So we are coming to civilize all these peoples from around the world because so Baba says, no, the only civilized people, the Aryans. For him, so Baba says, civilized means those with civil eyes. So only those who see the soul, which is what Lynette Ben was saying, are civil eyes. And it's only the deities who are an entire race, an entire religion of soul conscious beings that can be civilized. Baba says, as long as we use vices, we are not civilized. And so the Aryans are the deity. Then if I spin the cycle a little more and we shift around to the Silver Age, I was saying the other day that how Baba was talking about the Sun Dynasty governance and then the Moon Dynasty governance. And I always say to Baba that I feel that he he gives the Moon Dynasty, like, he's a bit harsh on them. You know, he's always talking about how they're always failing. And, he's quite derogatory about the Moon Dynasty, but they do rule the world, you know. And I was thinking about how many souls in the whole of the cycle rule the globe. And if you think about it, you know, you've got so many Lakshmi and Narayans, it's not that many. And then you've got so many Sitas and Rams, not that many. You know, it's less than 30, I think. So that's not that many souls ruling the whole world. And it can't be that bad. You know, they can't be that low to gain that. And they're sitting on that same throne. You know, we know that it's that same throne that continues. So Baba says, claim Mama and Baba's throne, and they have done that. But Baba is very keen. So I've shared this with you before as well, that, you know, Daddy Janki was very proud about being part of the Sun Dynasty. And when I'd had a little chat with her in her sitting room, I remember it was after Morley in her little sitting room at the back of Global Corporation House. She was sitting in her rocking chair, a rocking chair with her feet up. And I said to her, well, so, you know, it comes in the Morley as well that you are firstly in the Sun Dynasty, then the Sun Dynasty, come into the Moon Dynasty. And when I said that to her, she nearly leapt out of her rocking chair at me. She was like, will not be the Moon Dynasty. No, the Sun Dynasty will stay the Sun Dynasty for the full 21 births. So that hadn't occurred. She said, no, the respect for the Sun Dynasty will remain the same, even if the Moon Dynasty is ruling. So she was very, very adamant. So she had this very deep sense of identity as well with this, you know. I think for me, like the Sun Dynasty is like quite abstract a little. I think it still is, to be honest. It was more in those days, but I think it still is. But for her, I noticed it was a clear identity, clear consciousness. So I think one of the reasons why there might be a change of governance is a skill set surrounding diversity. And what Baba tells us is at the beginning of the Golden Age, you're all clustered around Delhi. It says that, like, you know, the UN has been using this term for a number of decades, the global village. And it's interesting how the drama works, isn't it? So we spend most of the drama diversifying. And then at the end of the Iron Age, technology makes the world smaller for us, doesn't it? So, I mean, even in Ranjanben's days, like, she went from Africa to the UK by ship, I think. Oh no, she went to India by ship. You know, it took like 3 months or something like that. So, like, it's not even that long ago, the world was bigger. And now the world has become smaller for all of us. So the drama seems to work that way, that we spread and then we come together again. And so at the beginning of the Golden Age, Baba says, you are the global village, which again feeds into that narrative of one race, you know, everyone basically living from those same river. I think the river Yamuna or Jamuna is the key river, really, of the Golden Age. And that's where he says Krishna is, that's where Delhi is, that's the capital. You don't live that far away from each other. And then that population would grow, it would spread. So as the Silver Age moves on, you know, I'm wondering how much we have spread and whether systems would change. All sorts of things would begin to alter over time. Baba says that many souls of the Silver Age, they're not souls who've studied the morally that much. So, you know, they can be cooperative souls, they can be. So there's souls with greater diversity of sanskars as well. Sometimes he refers to the Silver Age as semi-heaven. Again, part of his bad press on the Silver Age, but still, it's the kingdom of Ram, isn't it? You know, it's Ram Rajya, the one that Gandhi refers to how Gandhi always was remembering Ram Rajya. So the legends of the kingdom of Ram are still very deep. This perfect, just kingdom. And I suspect some of the early Copper Age souls, you know, they might have seen the end of the kingdom of Ram, you know, the end of that Silver Age. So still those memories are very fresh at that time. But I think there might be greater diversity in the Silver Age. We might have more of a spread. And as we spread, habitats influences the body. Even now, there's data that say in the UK, depending on what city you live in, or whether you live in a city or the rural areas, your health outcomes, like you can, even now, there's a difference in a country, depending. So places like inner city Glasgow are very famous, have always had poor health outcomes compared to wealthier parts, say, of London or other places in the south of England. So the life expectancy is 5 years less if you live in inner city Glasgow, and this is in the same country. So habitat influences, practices will influence. So I think we might begin to see more diversity in the bodies as the Silver Age develops. Now, at some point, or maybe it's a gradual process, Pangea is splitting, isn't it? Like that is very clear evidence. We can see that now. So Baba talks about a mini destruction at the end of the Silver Age. He says that the Golden Age palaces get buried in earthquakes, and maybe that's Pangea splitting. Maybe that's where all these you get continental drift, and we get this big spread around. And I wonder whether initially everyone's together. This is why you've got all these tribes, like even the Native Americans, they look Indian-y, don't they? And the Southern Indian natives, they look kind of Indian-y or African, you know. So I wonder whether initially the spread was when all the land mass was together. And then you've got peoples that have populated the Aboriginals in New Zealand, because the bottom of India was connected to the top of Australia. And even now, between New Zealand and Australia, you can still see the land underneath. So that was all one as well. I think the polar ice caps are created as there's climate change, and there's all sorts of changes within the world. So, you know, I think we might have spread a bit by the end of the Silver Age. We might have more diversity. There might be souls who don't really like city dwelling. You know, they're more nomadic, maybe in their sanskars. And then if you've got things like greater diversity of climate, so you've got people who are then begin to live in ice areas and things. Can't really grow vegetables, can you? So maybe fish eating and other types of meat eating and things, because it's a habitat issue. For example, just even 1,000 years ago, there was no Sahara Desert. That was a tropical rainforest. Hard to imagine, is that, and savanna land? Hard to imagine. There was no Sahara Desert. That's only 1,000 years ago. So climate can change quite quickly. So I think then we're getting diversity of races, because Pangea has split the diversity physically. And then, of course, you've got the social theory of races, which is what you've been speaking about. And I think at different times of the cycle, we've got different superiorities, haven't we? You know, different kingdoms, different superiorities. So it really depends who the superpowers are as to who the dominant race is. There would be times when if you're darker skinned, it was better for you, and depending on the kingdom. And then at other times, lighter skin. So I think we've just got races that have then developed. And then you've got religions being added in. Again, religions are a social construct, aren't they? So those things have been added in. And what you tend to find, say, in India, is caste systems have been, you can't get away from it, I don't think, that when you talk about the lower caste people, I seem to always see them with darker skin. I don't think you can get away from that. You know, I can't even think of meeting someone from the lower caste with fairer skin. So, you know, that doesn't mean there aren't, but I think we've created these social systems out of convenience. In the copper and iron ages, we've not wanted everyone to be educated. We've not wanted everyone to be powerful. Who will clean the toilets? Who will sweep the streets? You know, this is how we structure things. We want people to be in their places. And if you're an elite, it suits you to have that system there. The Baba says all of us, we've got a burden on our head because we've all participated in these things. And of course, many kingdoms, they don't exist anymore. Many empires, they come and go. And, you know, you would have had, like, for example, I was listening to some lectures on the Roman Empire this week. And you see, the UK was like the worst place in the Roman Empire. It was like the place where no one wanted to go. If you wanted to punish a Roman, you sent them to the UK. Because you don't want to go to this back cold where you could be living in Rome, the center of civilization. You could be living in the Mediterranean, there, this cold, wet place like the UK. And so at that time, to be a Briton was an inferior thing. Yeah. So the whole thing has, and then of course there's this stupidity around the pure blood thing. So this is where, because actually when you analyze, so there was something, the theory of eugenics, that the Victorians for some reason were became very popular. And in eugenics, it's about the superiority of races. So for example, if you look at the American Constitution, these much lauded founding fathers, all men are born free and this and that. But of course, people of African American heritage or native heritage, they were just classified as 3/5 of a man, you know, the 3/5 of a human. So it doesn't mean them. So you get these sorts of social constructed nonsense. They used to try and base it on science, which doesn't exist. It's untrue. So you get this. And now with modern genetics, we now know that actually 99.9% of all of our genetics is the same. And the differences are just 0.1 of a percentage, which makes up perfect level differences, really, between all of the races. So a more enlightened perspective now teaches us that actually it's a human race that exists. There are no races really other than the human race. And if you think back, those of you that are Star Trek fans, Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, this was why he created Star Trek, because he was trying to show that there's only one human race. And that Starship Enterprise is actually populated with diversity. So I've forgotten the name of the actress she left the body this year, who played Lieutenant Uhura. I'm sure you know who I mean. She was the first Black African American woman to be put onto the American screens in that sort of role. And it was part of that whole culture he was trying to move away, that look, actually, and even if you got people from other planets, you can all be together. So that was part of that whole thinking. So I think those would be if we spin the cycle. And then the way Baba puts it for the Brahmins, and I can think of Baba's face as he says this, is we had it, I think, just in the last video, morally, he gives a lot of love and remembrance to the double foreign children for crossing the high walls of culture and race and religion. Those from a Hindu background, it's not that difficult. A little bit difficult, but not that difficult. But he talks about how at confluence age, his children have to spread because he has to have his message around the world, and we have to have examples around the world, and how the Brahmin soul does spread and go into different places. And he says that you've all come together and Baba has created one sandalwood tree. And this is a very, very interesting metaphor that Baba uses. So sandalwood is perhaps the most auspicious element in Hindu worship. So it's fragrant, it's auspicious. So what Baba says is that you're no longer Indians or you British or whatever you are. You're no longer any race. Baba has planted a new something. So he was saying yesterday that the mother and father come and create a new world and then make you worthy. And so I think he's looking at Brahmins as like a whole new sapling, a whole new tree. So I think that he's saying to us now, you're moving away from that. And angels are interesting, aren't they? So where we're moving to, because angels have this sort of beyond race feel. So I think where Baba is saying we've got to get to is this stage, which Lynette Ben was speaking about, this stage that Baba has, where we realize there never were any races really. They were just our soul. That's just the eternal form of the soul. Everything else is wonderful dresses in the wardrobe. Maybe in your wardrobe, you've got a wonderful Egyptian dress, Malian dress, Roman dress, and various other Indian dresses, maybe Aztec dress, maybe you've got different dresses in your wardrobe. But that's nice, isn't it? You want that type of wardrobe. And so that's all it was. But you've always just been a soul. So maybe that's got your thoughts triggered. So would anyone else like to come in and add some things?
As no one else is saying anything, brother, can I just say that that was really useful, and in a way it's similar, I think, in my mind to the conversation last week, in that at the end of the cycle, just like with the tree, the Kalpa tree, at the end there are lots of splinter groups and sects and so on, and the whole issue of race is similar, is that as we go around the cycle, there becomes more and more races physically because of the changes that takes place geographically and in other ways. But the reality is that we are at the core all one, but the physicality of where we live on earth changes, our experience changes, our geography change, our diet change, and therefore, as a result, the physical body will change. And now what we're working towards is becoming one again by seeing ourselves essentially as souls and not as a physical body, because in the end, we're not taking them back with us. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yes, I think we've got to look at the Copper and Iron Age's beauty as being diversity. So if there's the beauty of singularity in the golden age and consistency, there's the beauty of diversity of the Iron Age.
Shanti, Shailen. Um,
Sure.
I have a question that I wanted to ask. A baby, when they're born, until the age of 5, if we make a study of them very carefully, we can tell where they came from. I want to ask you, is the soul in the womb, is it Trikaldarshi?
No, I don't think, well, maybe if a Brahmin soul leaves the body now, they would be. But my understanding of Trikaldarshi is we have to be educated to be Trikaldarshi. So it's only now where Shiv Baba is teaching us through the Muralis, like this discussion we've had on race. We're spinning the cycle. The cycle is the framework for understanding everything, for understanding Baba, ourselves, the world, everything. And so he says, spin the cycle. And at this time, we can get an idea where we've come from. So even if we look at this topic of race, I think where race could be significant, or religion or geography, is there are certain sanskars that could be inherent within the groups that we have been brought up in. And so we can carry that. Like, for example, there's one scholar who writes about, I've forgotten his name now, but I read his article a while back, and he argues that all of us born in the UK, whether we're Indians or British or whatever, we're all slightly Anglican. And there's like in the culture, just the way of thinking and being, it's like it becomes part of that. So I think those things, Trikaldarshi is like, okay, having a look to see where I've come from with this eye of knowledge, so I understand myself. Then on a global level, Baba tells me, for the past ages I've passed through, so I've picked up alloys, but originally, who was I? And then it's looking at my present. So I'm a mixture of all of the things of the past and the present, and then looking to see where Baba's taking me now. So that's Trikaldarshi. I think what Baba says to us is that in the Golden Age, and I don't know if he has a role in this or whether it's just an inherent capability within the soul in the Golden Age, that as we leave the body, we have a vision as to where we're going to take birth. And the parents also have a vision that a soul is now coming to them to be their child. So I suppose in the Golden Age, the soul would be, because it has had that vision. So it would carry that memory, maybe. And I think perhaps in the Golden and Silver Age, we can see more of the continuum of the journey throughout the many births, rather than just having a stop and start experience as we have in the Iron Age. But I don't think we are Trikaldarshi in the Copper and Iron Age, no.
Brother Shailen, right now we're talking about becoming introvert, going into silence. And if we have a question in mind, Baba gives us the answer. When my husband left, I have had no sadness. All I feel is that I want to pray for his soul. And I kept wondering why it is I'm not crying, I'm not feeling very sad. And then Baba gave me that word, Trikaldarshi. And that word brings me so much comfort, because now that I'm getting that knowledge that comes from Baba, it has helped me so much to become peaceful and also to not worry about anything. You know what I mean? Because it's all Trikaldarshi, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And it gives me such great comfort. I think Baba gave me that word. Om Shanti.
In 1961, Daddy Nirmal Shanta was Brahma Baba's Lokik daughter, and she was the daddy of Calcutta. And she was in Madhuban, and Baba called her to come and meet him. And he said to her that, do you remember what Shiv Baba says in the Murali? That you've got to become so knowledgeable, so soul conscious, that if your mother dies, you still make and eat halva. If your wife dies, you're going to make halva, eat halva. And halva, it means celebrate, in a sense, you're celebrating life. And Sister Jashoda, who was Baba's Lokik wife, she was serving in a center in Kanpur, near to Jaipur, I think, somewhere around there. And she had left the body. So Brahma Baba was saying that Shiv Baba says, if your wife leaves or if your mother leaves. And so that's the way he prepared Daddy Nirmal Shanta for that news. And this is really such an enlightened consciousness that Baba says you celebrate the life that was played, the role that was played, rather than mourn the loss. Because that soul is providing that gain now in another chapter. And so this is the way that Baba is teaching us. And yeah, you're a good example for us as to how you're dealing with that. And you're right, the fortune is of being Trikadarshi. So Baba says, make the most of now, because at no other point in the cycle will you know the cycle like you do now.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Would anyone else like to come in with anything?
Shanti, this conversation raised a question in my mind as well. Baba said in his Murlis, when you're in the womb, you also settle karmic accounts. So to settle karmic accounts, it means that you're seeing what you did in the past, or all your karmic accounts, good or bad. You know what went on in different cycles, different births. I don't think it means that you're Trikaldarshi. It means that you saw the hurt or the happiness or whatever you displayed in different lifetimes. I don't know how that relates to the past, the present, the future. But you get to see in different births what you did, and you settle that before you come, you take birth. I don't know what your view is on that. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. My understanding is it's just that previous birth. I don't think it's the births before that. And I don't think we still wouldn't know at that time what the next birth would be. Like obviously we're beginning to connect with our mother through the womb, but we don't know. It's not like in the golden age where we've had a vision of the future. So the soul has a security. I think it would be still quite frightening for a soul. So Baba calls it the jail of the womb. And, souls, they don't know where they are. And if you look how religion has recorded it, like a purgatory, like an in-between stage, the soul is still quite fearful, really, of death in the Iron Age. So I think that the imagery that Baba uses is not comforting at all, the jail of the womb. It's something which suggests fear and concern and uncertainty of the future. But we're certainly reflecting back on the past, and the one comfort we gain from all of this is sometimes people feel that justice has not been done. So when, for example, I was just remembering the Nazis earlier, so Hitler committed suicide before, the Nuremberg trials and so on. So many people feel when you've got there are many such characters like that they got away with it. They didn't have justice. So I suppose the reason that Baba shares this is that there is some comfort for some souls knowing that justice is always done. Because death is not the end, and you do not escape anything through that. What I do feel, and I don't think I've got a basis in the morally for it, it's more just my sense, that I think drama is still compassionate. So I think what happens is that in the jail of the womb, we face our past wrongs, and we experience the feelings that others had while we were performing those actions. And Baba says, you promised to Baba, let me out of here. I won't do it again. I think drama might give us the chance to rectify the wrongs in that next life. So I think that process of the jail of the womb might be shaping that next drama. And so I think drama gives us opportunities. And you might have someone who did something really bad, say, in that previous life, and there could be reasons and there could be whatever. And let's take the example, like we know that poverty creates crime, right? That's for sure. So someone in that poverty situation has stolen, used violence, whatever they've done. Now they've gone in front of their conscience in the jail of the womb, and maybe they've regretted and they've thought, I won't do this again. Perhaps in their next life, they will be back in poverty. And they will be given that chance by drama to show that they have changed. And if they take that chance, I think the karmic account might be cleared. I'm not sure that just regretting is enough. I think you need action. And it was one of the wisdoms that Mahatma Gandhi had. And I think many of you, most of you might have watched the film of Gandhi, Richard Attenborough's film. And there's a very powerful scene in there where after the secular violence, one Hindu man, so Gandhi is on a hunger fast because he's so upset by all of the violence. And he thinks the only thing that can make people stop is if, out of some affection for his life, they'll stop. So he was on hunger strike to the death. And they showed this scene of this Hindu man coming with some bread, saying, eat, I don't want your death on my conscience, because I'm already going to hell. And he then explains that he alleges that some Muslim people had come and killed his son. So then he went and found a Muslim child and killed them as well. So he said, I am now damned, and so on like this. So Gandhi then says to him that there is one way to save yourself and give yourself salvation. You have to go now and find an orphan amidst all this violence. And you must make sure that it is a Muslim boy. And you, as a Hindu, must bring him up as a Muslim. And so Gandhi has picked up on something here, I think. And this is what makes me think as well, that the drama gives opportunities. So I don't know what happened, of course, but and I don't know whether that was just like a dramatic reconstruction of something because it was a movie. But I think there's a principle there that if we take an opportunity to rectify, and you do find this even in people's lifetimes, don't you? That you find former gang members who then work their entire life in social work to help people not get into gangs or remove from gang. You do find people who are trying to rectify their past wrongs. And I think that's what clears karmic accounts. I'm not sure that so much just repenting in the jail of the womb does it. So Baba says, you say you promise Baba you won't do it again, you come out, you forget your promise, you just do it again. So, but there will be some births where we didn't do it again. We did change. And that clears the karmic account. Now at confluence age, Baba gives us the method of yoga But it's not just yoga. We are clearing accounts. He says, you don't run. You're not sannyasi. Don't run away from your accounts. You got to face them. And, I was saying to Ranjan Ben this week, oh yes, during Christmas and New Year, I had many messages from many of you. So did Ranjan Ben. Happy New Year. And then from time to time, you get messages of thanks for these classes. And of course, we appreciate the blessings, but I can tell you very honestly, in my mind, it never occurs to me that I'm doing anything for anyone else. I was saying this, Ranjan, but like it's so deep in my bones that everything I'm doing is benefiting me. And this is my opportunity to accumulate, but also my opportunity to clear accounts. That it never even in the corner of my mind occurs that I am benefiting anyone. That Baba benefits everyone else, I benefit myself. That's, for me, that's so clear in my mind that any thanks anyone gives, I just pass it up. And, like this thing that some people will, even like non-BKs, they'll give me blessings because they say, oh, you're looking after your mom, anyone who looks after your mom. But I've always had it very clear in my mind that there would have been births where maybe I didn't look after my parents, or I didn't get the opportunity to look after my parents. So actually, Baba says, take responsibility now. Don't run away from responsibilities. Why? Because I'm probably clearing accounts from past birth by doing that. And we probably have been monks and nuns and sannyasis sometimes. And Baba tells us, doesn't he, that sometimes you're leaving your wife and child. It's not a good system. Baba doesn't encourage that system. It's different if you're just a single person, you've got no responsibilities, that's different. But if you run away from, and many of the sannyasis in India, like they've lost their job, they're bankrupt, their wife is shouting at them and nagging, they just go and run away and become a sannyasi. And this is sometimes what happens. And that's actually causing sorrow because you're causing that difficulty. So you end up with a karmic account. And I look at my journey in this life, and my father was not around. I've had to take responsibility from a young age. And I've always thought that this is reversing. This is an opportunity to reverse karmic account. And Lady Janki always said to me that you have to get a job, look after your mom. All I wanted to do when I was 16, 17, 18 was go and live in the center. She always said to me, no. And I look back now and you can see, that this was absolutely the right thing, because actually you didn't end up just creating more karmic account. You just repeated the mistake again. And I think she intuitively knew that, she could see that. And so it was good advice. And I appreciate it now. So I think drama, so I always look out for what drama is offering. And it might be something where you think, oh, I'd rather avoid it. But actually, it might be that you had said in your mind to Baba, after you'd left your previous life, oh, I won't do this again. I'll deal with this differently next time. And actually, that's what drama is then testing you out or giving you the opportunity for. So now that we are really Trikarmadarshi, then I think we are looking at it in a very knowledgeable way.
Thank you so much for that, brother. Sister Ambika and I were discussing that, and we came up with the same conclusion that we get the opportunity each time in different births to clear karmic accounts. And the people in our lives are there to help us through that, good or bad. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the cycle now, every person we meet, they're like a concentration of karmic accounts. So, whereas like the relationships would have been lighter in the Copper Age and Iron Age maybe, now at the end of the cycle, every single person in our life actually might be bringing multiple births of karmic accounts. So many Brahmins, they find that they've got one or two relationships which are very intense. Could be like in their Lokik family. If you're living in a center, sometimes people find this even in a center, like they're living with someone and it can be really, really difficult. And that person is very sweet with everyone else. And then with you, you're just feeling another side to them because it's a karmic account. So you're experiencing something. So you might find that happening now because you have to clear all karmic accounts. So we shouldn't see the person as just the person, just like you're saying, they're an instrument. And it's like many karmic accounts. Same the other way, positive karmic accounts as well. Every Brahmin will share how they've had lots of cooperation and this person has been an instrument. And Baba was saying this morning, I am the one helping you. I am giving you that return of your karma. I'm just making someone an instrument to do that.
This morning, we were discussing, we create accounts gradually throughout the cycle, but it is very interesting to note how we clear it very fast in this last birth, where we're also under guidance. I think without the guidance, we wouldn't be able to clear as much accounts as quickly.
I think it's a nice point, and Baba was taking it up this week with the degrees of the moon. So he wasn't talking about the clearing of accounts, but he was talking about the fullness. And he was saying that the degrees of the moon decrease gradually. So you go from 16 down to 0 over an entire cycle. But then you go from 0 to 16 really quickly. And that's what happens with the moon, like over a lunar month. It gradually, so everything is happening gradually around the cycle, but now you've got to do it quickly. And you're very right to point out that this is why for many Brahmins it can be very intensive. And you find some Brahmins, they're really struggling with karmic accounts. Baba remembers in some Muralis about the mothers who were in bondage at the time when he was there, and many others who've had different karmic accounts. Some Brahmins, you find their health is not with them. Some Brahmins, their wealth is not with them. You find these different karmic accounts very intensively coming to some Brahmins. But Baba's attitude is always, you're becoming free. You're becoming free. So deal with it with happiness. And then once you're free of that, then you then meet Brahmins, don't you, that have no barriers, no restrictions. They got the health, the wealth. And when I see those Brahmins, I think, well, those souls have already cleared. So you've got some Brahmins who are clearing, and then you've got other Brahmins, they're probably already cleared previously, so they got a straight path now. And Baba most Brahmins seem to be taking more than one birth at confluence stage. Here in the UK, we've had like a wave of Brahmins leaving the body this year. A lot of Ranjan Ben's classmates, they're 75, 80, 85. So that entire generation from the 1970s and 80s, so many of them are leaving their body. So, we'll be looking out for them as Brahmin children. Like in that last video, morally, there were children at the end dancing on the stage. There's a kickboxing guy. There's that young boy who won a kickboxing medal as well. He came on the stage as well at the end of one of the Muralis. And so I was thinking that I wonder, which Brahmin that is. Maybe we knew that in the previous birth. So I think we got to just understand that Baba's perspective is Clearing is good. Burdens are not good.
And one thing I always add for myself is like drama is giving us the opportunity to clear the accounts, but at the same time, it's very much giving me the opportunity to face my own weaknesses and grow and grow. So it's always helpful in both ways.
Yeah, I think that's another great point. And you also reminded me of something that came in the Borg message through Mohiniben this week, that Baba was saying that you have to clear the accounts, but it shouldn't stop you accumulating. And the problem is, say, it could be like you're mentioning a weakness where we're getting distracted, attached, waste thought. So clearing the account is not the problem. The problem is that clearing that account is then breaking your yoga, removing your soul consciousness. So if you've got physical illnesses, if you've got that weakness where that physical illness changes your mood, for example, then at that point, you're not just clearing the account, you're actually suffering with the account. And so what we got to do is, as you're saying, face those weaknesses, remove those weaknesses, so that as we clear, we also accumulate.
Two days ago, the Sakar Murli that one mother said, her husband doesn't let her come.
It was in the Borg message from Sirifort Center. Yeah.
You can,
They will listen to it they might not have had a chance yet. I only put it this morning.
yeah, but Baba said that, but don't have those negative thoughts. Baba thoughts, positive thoughts that at least, gradually they'll become your cooperate with you. And some say their husbands cooperate, but they would like to, but in many ways, but don't let them go frequently or something. And Baba said, don't think that they're negative at all. Just one day they will become Sahaj Yogi, means they will also understand Baba's knowledge and will become easy yogis and will be your cooperative as well. So Baba was speaking positive thinking, and the other day Baba said that, if we put our own obstacles because thinking of things like changing the mood, and we absorb the negativity of whoever is around us. And Baba said that's why, don't absorb that. You just keep on remembering Baba and giving positive. Otherwise, your good wishes won't reach them because you yourself are changing your mood and changing then you can't even serve them, can't give good wishes to anyone. And those waste thoughts and negative thoughts are obstructing your progress of giving good wishes to others.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder. And I think, that was a very powerful image from last week's Morally. The walls of your own way are blocking your own spiritual vibration from reaching others. And, as you say, these are all the weaknesses we are settling. And some of these karmic can come in the form of these old scars. And the way Baba put it in the Borg message from Sirifort is that Baba's given you the gift of the divine intellect and the divine eye. But Maya likes that gift too. So she is ready to steal it away from you. So, and this is what Maya means: our weaknesses, our human nature. And now we've got to show that mastery over that. Okay, let's listen to a bit of the morning and then hear for you more. Yeah. That one. Is that the 69 book?
Yeah. Baba is different.
Shall we read the spiritual museum? Is it?
I think
Okay.
this Baba has been mentioning the wealth of knowledge and thoughts, and then every breath And Baba has talked about surrendering today, and so I thought, well, this music probably, should I read this one?
Yeah, that's good.
The next time we'll read about the museum, the Vogue message about the sister who was looking after the museum. You know, so we were thinking of reading that Moodley. It's a Moodley as well as Daddy's message, but inauguration of the museum in Mount Abu. You probably, some of you might have been there. But it's a very fairly long and
We'll read another thing.
prepare for career.
Bhaiji, before you read,
Go ahead, Vikash.
maybe it's on our side, but Didi is sounding a little bit distorted, the sound. Maybe the mic is far from her.
Yes.
Okay.
Also
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah, try again. Japan, speak.
Yeah, but well, I said this is the Moodley of 25th
Better.
January 1969. Is that better?
Yes, Dee.
The highest stage of surrender is to have remembrance in every breath. The highest stage of surrender is to have remembrance in every breath, whilst being stable in the Avyak stage. See the Avyak in the corporeal form. So see the soul and not the body, you know, whilst being stable. First, one must be stable in the Avyak state. See the Avyak in the corporeal form. Today, Baba is asking you a question. Have you completely surrendered? And it says in the bracket, so someone answered Baba, we are already surrendered. What would Baba say? Is this everyone's thought, or does someone have another thought? What is total surrender? So Bapdada asked those two questions again. And Baba then continues, the consciousness of the body is also included in everything. If the body is taken away, another one will have to be given. But you have to break the consciousness of the body, Dehan, in Hindi it is Dehan, consciousness of the body. So, and so Baba is saying, telling us that what total surrender means. If the body is taken away, another one will have to be given. But you have to break the consciousness of the body and become surrendered. What do you think? Have you totally surrendered even the consciousness of the body? So with the body means I'm Gujarati, and just now you said about the costume and our culture and then our religion, everything includes. So it's the consciousness of the body that I'm beautiful, whatever. For the body, Dehan, and then I'm very educated, all that comes into consciousness of the body. And so this is why Baba asked when somebody said, I have surrendered everything. So what do you think? Have you totally surrendered even the consciousness of the body? Have you died, or are you still continuing to die? You are bodiless in terms of the relations of the body and the thoughts of the mind. Only when the consciousness of the body is totally finished can it be said that your life is totally surrendered. There is praise for the perfect stage of only those who have renounced everything and have a totally surrendered life. Baba says life. When you have become perfect, you go with Baba. But will it be with the body or as the soul? So, Vivian, you got your answer. But will it be with the body or as the soul? Will you go with Baba? You had thought about this, so why did you not do it practically? In the beginning, you had the thought that if Baba goes, you will also go with him. So why did you not do it? This is also a sign of love. It is a sign of breaking all other relationships and forging all relationships with one. Now here, we will read, last year we read all the messages, and this is Murli will, on the 21st, we try and read the Murli of 21st. Why Baba is saying, ask these questions was that Madhuban, Baba suddenly became avyak, and so some had these complaints. So why did Baba not take leave? And so this is why Baba is asking this. So some of those who had made very good efforts and become avyak, like soul concept, they were stable in their stage, but there were some who were crying and asking all these questions. And this is why Baba is responding to their thoughts and their questions via Gulzar Dadi. They sent. So that now it's clear to you why. So it applies to us now as well. Those who have these questions in the mind, Baba will clear, So.
And Baba's asking, well, if you miss Brahma Baba so much, why didn't you come to the Sutta reading with him?
Yeah.
And then we don't know what to say. And we say, oh, but we love Brahma Baba so much. So Baba's saying, okay, come with him.
And
What's stopping you? Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry about that. This is where Baba started by saying, whilst being stable in the avyak stage, see the avyak, see the soul in the corporeal form. Although the body is there, but see the soul only. And so this is what others practice, and when they are able to go, and this is why Baba encourages us. And now this month of January, there's so much homework and so much guidance, so much help from Baba. Madhuban has sent a lot of methods and everything. So it is to make that stage. Do you want to say?
I did finish. Okay.
So, Baba, you had the thought about this. So why did you not do it practically? This is what Baba is questioning. In the beginning, you had the thought that if Baba goes, you will also go with him. So why did you not do it? This is also a sign of love. It is a sign of breaking all other relationships and forging all relationships with one. It is a sign of the final time. Since you have said this, why did you not renounce your body? Are you able to renounce it? You cannot renounce it now whilst there are still the karmic accounts with your body. You definitely have to settle all karmic accounts either by yoga or suffering. If there are any severe karmic accounts, this body will remain. It cannot be renounced. In the same way, you are surrendered anyway. But now the stage of surrender has become even higher. So today's Murli was about surrender, but Baba is saying now this is a good taking point. But now the stage of surrender has become even higher. Surrender means to have remembrance in every breath. You should not forget Baba even on one breath. Each breath should be in remembrance. And so, what would be the sign of someone who does this? So Baba is asking, what would be the sign of someone who remembers Baba in every breath? What will be visible on his face? What will be on his face? Do you know? So someone answered, cheerfulness. So Baba says, will there be anything else apart from cheerfulness? Whatever is the extent, did you get any answers to this, Baba? Will there be any else apart from cheerfulness? Did you think of any other quality? Baba says, whatever is the extent of someone's tolerance, his power increases accordingly. So, tolerance, power, one of the 8 power, tolerance. Those who stay in remembrance in their every breath must definitely have the virtue of being tolerant. So Baba mentioned the tolerance power and then tolerance as a virtue. Why? Then just came to me that someone who is remembering Baba at every breath, so many things coming. I think, and so if you have that virtue of tolerance, you won't, like Baba said today, some get irritable, anger, all those vices. And I just thought, well, you need so much tolerance power to not to have even slightest bit of irritation, no matter how many times someone asks you the same question. You don't say someone in your house asks, where did you put this? And you tell them, I put it in that cupboard. And they'll come again and say, where did you say? And you have to answer again and again, few times. And then you end up being irritable or say, I did tell you, can't you hear? Are you deaf or something? No, Baba says the virtue of tolerance means you just go and get it or say it nicely. So that is a deep test. And that's the progeny. That's the Baba said you mustn't have any ego, in this meeting with Baba on 31st, wasn't it? About the ego on the trace, even the slightest trace of.
It was on Sundays, morally,
Yeah.
half the morally was on renouncing ego and the other half on inculcating humility.
Yeah. So this is the virtue of tolerance, being tolerant. And because of being tolerant, their cheerfulness and power will be visible. There won't be any signs of weakness on their face. So this is the explanation, definition from Baba about cheerfulness and tolerance. Sometimes the words emerge from your mouth. How can I do this? What will happen? These words of weakness should not emerge. And that's why Baba pointed out that now the stage of surrender has become even higher. Why? Every breath, if you remember, you can have these virtues and powers all the time. And these words of weakness should not emerge. Only when they come into the mind do they emerge in words, but they should not enter the mind. The thought comes first and then it comes into action. Manmanabhav. And what is the middle one? Madhyaji bhav. So the meaning of Manmanabhav, you know the story, Manmanabhav is very deep. Just as the drama continues to move second by second, in the same way, the stage of the mind should move in a straight line, following the rails of the drama. So shall I read this again? The meaning of Manmanabhav is very deep. Just as the drama continues to move second by second, in the same way, the state of the mind should move in a straight line following the rails of the drama. And I remember Dadi Janki reading this and saying, she gave her own example, but you know how her mind was so stable, but she was teaching her. And she said she just dreamt that she was going on a train and it was, shaking, and she got a bit scared, and, so everybody said, no, not possible. So she was teaching that no matter what happens, you just carry on the rails of drama. And so Baba is teaching us that our mind should be so stable. Just as the drama continues to move second by second, in the same way, the state of the mind should move in a straight line, following the rails of the drama. It should not fluctuate even a little bit. Whether in thoughts or in words, your state should be like that. Sometimes, while moving on the rails of the drama, you come to a halt. Sometimes the mouth says something. Sometimes the state of the mind fluctuates. And then only later do you get hold of the state. So you waste some time, some breath in between. That's what Baba means. Not a single breath should be wasted. So, but it is only after some time that you get hold of the state. This also becomes like a stain. Acha, there is something else that until now has only been spoken of in words, but has not yet happened practically. What is it that has only been spoken about, but not yet happened practically? You just heard about the shield of the drama. So use the drama as a shield, nothing new. Baba teaches us nothing new. Whatever happens is accurate, nothing new, beneficial. And so that is a shield of drama. Baba was also telling you something else. The time is close. Remember, this is the Murli of 1969. So this is why Baba is asking. And so according to the time, the stage of being introverted, of going beyond sound, of being aware, wise, engaged in action, should be visible, and that is still lacking. So this Murli is accurate, Baba chose, because today's, was it blessing or the Avyakta point? Baba said there's a lot of extrovertness, and also in the Hope message. And we need to go introvert. I think it was today's blessing. And also today's self-respect point that I'm an idol sitting in this body, which is my temple. You remember? And you are invoking the Bhagatsan. Yeah. So all this is in there. So Baba was saying this in 1969. So according to the time, the stage of being introverted, of going beyond sound, of being aware, wise, engaged in action, should be visible. And that is still lacking. Your business has to continue, but developing this stage should also continue. Means whatever job you are doing, even if you have business or whatever, that should continue, but developing this stage, avyakti stage, stable stage, should also continue. Both these should happen together equally, simultaneously, equally together. At the moment, they are not. Now, Sakar Baba is stable in the Avyak form, but you children will only be able to have the alokik experience of an Avyak meeting if you are stable in the Avyak state. So Baba is asking us to make our Avyak state very stable. If we are to have alokik experiences, means if we want to go and experience such a vision, Paramdam, there is one another main thing. At present, your attention is being drawn to it. And so there should be this to a greater extent within yourself. What is that? Does anyone know? You were told of it by the corporeal form also to wake up. What time? Baba has mentioned this for past 2 weeks. You know, about the Murli, about the disciplines, and about Amrit Vela. So Baba says, this is why Baba said our attention was being drawn to it. And so there should be this to a greater extent within yourself. What is that? Does anyone know? You were told of it by the corporeal form also to wake up at Amrit Vela. The atmosphere of Amrit Vela will remain the same in the Sakar form. At Amrit Vela, even though the children were far away, they used to experience a meeting with Baba. But now, when Baba went on a tour at Amrit Vela, he didn't see that atmosphere. Why? So Baba Dada goes on a tour every morning. Even now Baba says, and so Baba pointed out that he didn't see that atmosphere. Why? Have you become tired? Tiredness is removed by this alokik experience of Amrit Vela. Yet, this weakness is sometimes visible.
It was after this morally that Didi Manmohini and Daddy Prakashmani made Amrit Vela rule within the Brahmin family. So up until now, it was Baba's advice, people were doing it. But after this morally, it became part of our Maryada. So it's introduced right from the beginning that we should wake up at 4 o'clock, as Baba's saying that we have to do.
It is Bap Dada. So Baba said that, have you become tired? And then Baba answered that tiredness is removed by this alokik experience of Amrit Vela. Yet this weakness is sometimes visible. It is Bap Dada's pure desire that children quickly experience these Avyakt experiences. So today also, you see, this is accurate that, Baba would like us to experience actually Avyakt experiences. So it's a very good point to underline and checking, attention and checking, honestly with Baba and giving result to Baba, because Baba has pointed out what he observed, noted, and then he has given us today. Yet, this weakness is sometimes visible. It is Bap Dada's pure desire that children quickly experience these Avyakt experiences. When you used to meet the Sakar form in the corporeal form, your stage used to become angelic. Now you will have alokik experiences to the extent that you remain stable in the Avyakt angelic form. Shall I read this a bit of a divine message? It's about
We'll do that another time.
Yeah. Okay, it's about giving regard. Baba said, Balak Malak.
What was the date of that, Marla?
This one, this.
The one we just said?
26th January 1969.
The one we just said, yeah.
From Baba Feel.
Yeah.
And the title was about surrender.
So these early days,
Stage of surrender is to have remembrance in every breath.
the Manmanabhav is just last 7 days previously. And such a high standard, isn't it? That Baba is expecting. He's not just saying you've got to surrender physically, but he's saying Manmanabhav means you've got that remembrance in every breath. You're moving just moment by moment with the drama. You're not dwelling on the past. You're not thinking extra thoughts everywhere. And then Buddha is making us aware that the avyak, sometimes when we think of the avyak stage, the angelic stage, we think of up above. But what Baba is saying is, when you're in the body, you're making the invisible visible. So as you think of yourself as a soul, you look at the soul in the forehead of others. That's the avyak stage. And you are, if the soul is avyak, it's not material. And so as you continue to make that which is immaterial visible, that which is invisible visible, so that that is becoming more real for you, then you are transitioning into your angelic stage. The issue we have is our physical self feels more real and dominant than the soul, and the soul just feels like a point of light, it's small. But as we begin to feel that being a soul is bigger than the body, because I'm in a more angelic, I'm in a limited consciousness, and I begin to feel the energy and the capacity of being the ocean. This point is the ocean. So actually, the more that I'm in that spiritual state, the more unlimited I'm becoming. And I begin to feel that actually I'm gaining more and I have a bigger world to experience than this world. Then my intellect will continue to feel motivated to want to do this. Otherwise, we can be so interested in our lives down here that actually we don't feel that great motivation to make that transformation of our vision, and that the soul is more than that person. So we think, oh, that person's so interesting. I don't want to forget them and just see the point. But actually, if I practice seeing them as a point, I can begin to really see more of who they are, and that their soul is full of so many colors, and that their soul is full of so many roles, so many qualities. And I begin to develop that divine eye. That's the avyak stage. So it's something which we've got to build and accumulate. This is why Baba is saying you're going to have to do it at every breath. You've got to do it then. You've got to accumulate over a long period of time. And you'll continue to then break body consciousness.
And Baba says that power of experience is the biggest, highest power, and Baba often says, Baba has so much love and so much high vision that my children are so high that they can't perform ordinary. Like today, Baba said, you are the deities who fulfill everyone's desires. And so Baba would like us to have this stage like Manmanabhav and Madhyadibhav, and be Baba's helper, because Baba said, in yesterday's board message, took a sister on a tour and showed that this, look at your world, is so full of sorrow, and that people are in so much distress. And this is why Baba is really asking us to make such efforts. Baba is working hard on us, like Brahma Baba and all the deities, and they've gone to guide us as well and help us to have this state of making ourselves complete very fast. But we need to make effort and have attention on ourselves to fulfill Baba's desires and hope for us.
Would anyone like to share their reflections on that?
I like to focus on being the soul and make it more real than the body by trying remembering what you said, practice that churning because it sounds so powerful. And I will become powerful by just having that awareness that I am the ocean. I'm not just this body and all the purity that goes with it. I like it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's this very, very subtle but yet very deep perception of Maya that the physical world is more. You know, it's something I can gain, something here more. If I'm successful in my physical world, then that's bigger success. So our intellect has been brainwashed really for so many centuries into thinking that this external success and attainment is more. And so even after becoming Brahmin, our intellect can take convincing because we know it, but actually we don't fully believe it. That we would think that, well, if I'm famous externally, if I got some sort of profile externally, if I've got some sort of achievements externally, if I've got lots of people in my life externally, this is obviously more. But then we bring Brahmabhava's journey in front of us. And he spent the best part of 50 years building a business, building a family, building his community profile and connections. He built his bank account. He built his houses and property. So he, as Dada Lekraj, also thought that this world, more is more. And as soon as the Baba came, Baba's talking about this surrender, he realized that this spiritual stuff is more. So there's a famous letter that he wrote back home when he was in Benares and he was having his early churnings, his early realizations, put himself into retreat at his friend's place in Benares. And he wrote back home and he said that was when he had sold off his business in Calcutta to his business partner. And he wrote back and said that partner Aleph, partner Alpha, received Allah. Allah for Allah. And partner B there, Unko Badshah, he got the kingdom. So Sevakram was his business partner. So the name of the business was Lekraj and Sevakram and Company and Sons, I think. And he was the senior partner, but he was saying partner A, partner Allah. He got Allah. And partner B got the kingdom because that entire business, more is more, that entire. His family thought he was mad, absolutely crazy. They wrote back to him saying, I don't know what's happened. He's obviously gone insane. And this is how his family reacted. That we can see his journey was actually the soul, the point is the ocean. The Baba, the point is the ocean. It's more. And he realized that from day one. And we sometimes take a bit of time, but we got to also realize that. And we got to follow in the footsteps of Brahma. And then even in the yajna, what was the final paper that Shiv Baba put in front of him? Hand over the yajna to the daddy. Let go of that as well. His name is on the door. It's called Brahma Kumari. Let go of that as well. And so he had to hand over. Even that was not his. And he became more. He became the angel Brahma. So he became the angel Adam. So he became more than Prajapita. You know. The brothers mentioned it this morning in the Morali. You know, those days they were listening to these things, not knowing that actually this would happen. But the brothers saying that one day this Brahma will have the yoga, purify himself, and go and become the angel Brahma. And the angel is more. He can do more. He has more capacity. It's not less. But when people remember Brahma Kumari, they think of the daddy. They think of the deity. They don't really think so much about Brahma. They have to let go of the external profile to become more. And this is what the Avyakt stage is.
And I would say why Baba says become a soul and an angel, because like attracts like. Baba will, only soul, and see Baba understands only soul language, and doesn't
Silence.
silence and
Feelings of the heart.
and Brahma Baba is an angel and is our mother and is in between, because he has experienced this physical world. He has all sorts of experience. The most experienced medium that Baba has chosen is him as an agent. And so Brahma Baba understands us. Still Baba wouldn't understand us, isn't it?
He knows us, but really,
Yeah.
Brahma Baba has no empathy.
Yeah. And this is why it's important for us to have this stage and have that as well. And Amrit Vela and what taught me more about the mind and the words not to come otherwise the same. Baba says that if your stable state fluctuates and you have a loss, your negativity. And so it is like a stain in a very white cloth, stain on a diamond. It stands out. And so Baba was pointing out that don't let your mind, your thoughts fluctuate, your state fluctuate. Become, and then you will be able to give experience to others.
We all have that experience, don't we? That you can have a very good day. From Amrit Vela, you've been having good yoga, good consciousness, and all it takes is one thing. And once you're into your waste thoughts, it spoils the whole day, doesn't it? So, it only takes a thing. And actually, it means the whole tablecloth can't be used. It's like the whole day gets spoiled. So it does have to be something where that is right. You've got to keep that attention. You've got to keep it going the whole day.
And also when today I heard this, read this obvious self-respect about the idol. I remember that movie of 31st December 1970 about Amrit Vela. Baba has given us, and in that after Amrit Vela, while you have your daily routine, when you are bathing, you have the consciousness that it is very valuable idol that even Baba decorates, and I am. And this body is also very valuable because of the confluence and because of Baba, it's for Baba's service. And so I make sure that I also invite virtues and decorate it good, take good care of it, and decorate it with Baba's virtues and whatever Baba teaches us, Srimad, everything. Remember, so it's good to go again if with that movie while also in practice while bathing, remembering those. I do from time to time, but I must admit I do also forget, and then I remind myself, and then I. But this is what Baba reminded us of benefit of being early at Amrit Vela. Because Amrit Vela is the beginning of the day, and if your beginning is good, then the whole day, we all have experienced that, the beginning, and then the whole day, and Baba is right, your tiredness goes away, but sometimes, it's the thoughts and things that interfere, and if you give into that, and then you feel a bit, otherwise, if the yoga is good, then I've noticed even in me, tiredness goes, but sometimes when I keep on thinking, oh, I'm tired, I find that day I feel a bit heavy.
Would like to share any final reflections? Okay, so we had another rich Chit Chat. Thank you all for being here. Those of you that could make it live, you enrich in it. And from Suriname, they came especially.
After time.
Yes, Didi. Om Shanti.
I
Om Shanti.
always look forward to seeing you all. It's lovely. It's making me feel so good as if we are together. I don't feel we are far away.
Nowadays,
Yes,
nowadays Ranjan Ben can't travel as much to so many centers and things and meet so many Brahmins face to face. So all of you attending on a Saturday, I observe that it gives her a lot of energy. So really appreciate it.
Yes, I'm very thankful.
As are
We
we.
also, Didi, the family.
Although we are very far, there is a very close family feeling.
Yes.
Even
So-
though we've never met in person, still it seems like we know each other from very long.
Yeah, and it's thanks to drama, thanks to conferences, and thanks to Baba, and thanks to all these scientists and whoever invented this for us, making it easy for us. We are
Yes,
getting our blessings as well.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, all of you who've contributed to the richness of this discussion, and also warm regards and a Happy New Year to those of you joining later on through the YouTube channel. We also keep you in our thoughts and hearts as well. So, Om Shanti, everyone. See you next week.
Shanti.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Thank
Shanti.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.